Vanakkam from Coimbatore, India. Greetings from Ganga Hospital and our anesthesia team. Today, I will talk on a novel motor sparing block for total knee replacement surgeries. We believe that curious observations and relevant observations leads to the invention of a novel approach. Today, we will explore the new regional anesthesia technique for total knee replacement called as dual subsartorial block. Basically, it is a type of precision regional analgesia as it targets specific innervations. It is also an hybrid form of block which involves combination of two subsartorial block. We believe that dual subsartorial block is a procedure-specific, motor-sparing and opioid-sparing regional analgesia technique which provides effective postoperative analgesia when used as an adjunct to multimodal analgesia for all the TKR surgeries, mainly with the medial approaches. We designed this block in 2017 based on the available literatures on cadaveric studies, dye studies, and clinical experiences. Later in 2018, I presented this in one of the CME on regional analgesia at CMC Vellore. In 2019, we started doing prospective study after registering with CTRI. We published our pilot study of dual subsartorial block in 2020, and recently last month in July 2021, our technical report and anatomical description of dual subsartorial block got published. The publication of the prospective trial is in the pipeline. Surgeons, anesthesiologists and patients, they share common goals like pain-free surgery and overall hospital stay, enhanced recovery suitable for ERAS protocol. The enhanced recovery after surgery is one of the leading example of pathway-based perioperative care protocol. The key element of ERAS protocol includes patient education, expectation setting, aggressive optimization of comorbidities, standardized anesthetic and surgical techniques, early mobilization, early oral feeding, early discharge, and effective pain management using multimodal analgesia. So what are the requirements? The ideal pain management strategy for TKR requires an holistic approach. You should know your patient, you should know your surgeon and the surgical steps. You should have a background knowledge of pain generating structures and their innervations, along with the sonoanatomy of subsartorial regions and comparison with other available techniques. Most of the patients undergoing TKR are above 60 years of age, suffering from symptomatic osteoarthritis. They cannot even perform their routine activities independently due to restricted or limited joint mobility. All this leads to physical disability arising from pain and loss of functional capacity, which further reduces the quality of life. We believe that such population should receive utmost perioperative care, including the best suitable analgesia option to improve the quality of life. After all, to move on is life. They deserve a chance to make a choice to change their lives. Give me some sunshine, give me some rain, give me another chance. I want to grow up once again. The knee joint is one of the biggest and most complicated joint of the human body. The joint cartilage surface might get damaged due to trauma, overload, or genetic disorder, due to which the patient may feel pain with a limitation of range of motion leading to bad gait pattern. The total knee replacement remains the only solution for such situation, in which the damaged cartilage surfaces are replaced by an implant, allowing the patient to do not only normal activities but also sports related activity after the surgery. TKR is considered as one of the most successful and life-changing surgeries, where rapid recovery is possible due to improved analgesic options apart from various surgical modifications. Why it is called life-changing? This is our patient who was so much in distress, disabled, and dependent on other for routine activities. His X-ray showed significantly deformed joint, varus on the left side and valgus on the right knee. After surgery, his life completely changed once the deformity got corrected. This is another lady patient with a severe rheumatoid arthritis affecting all joints, causing deformity and restricted mobility. One more example of life-changing surgery. So being an anesthesiologist, we should assist them in this transition process by making their journey pain-free. So let's explore this life-changing surgery. The total knee replacement surgeries involves various steps starting from incision, extra-articular dissections and intra-articular resection. It is important to note which pain-generating structures are removed and retained during the surgery to plan for analgesic strategies. The knee joint is approached by various incisions. The incision is the first iatrogenic damage where tissue insults begin. Among various approaches, the medial parapatellar approach is the most common. It is also called as workhorse of the varus knee. The midline approaches are usually used for revision surgeries, whereas the lateral approaches are sometimes needed to correct the severe valgus deformity. In severe valgus deformity conditions, chances to the common peroneal nerve injury are more common during the surgery, which leads to foot drop postoperatively. So blocks involving sciatic nerve component should be avoided. So it's always better to look for the X-ray to confirm whether you are dealing with the varus knee or the valgus knee, to know whether your surgeon will take a medial or lateral approach, as all blocks including dual subsaltatory block will not work for all other approaches except medial approaches. Apart from the surgical steps, we need to understand the post-surgical pain generation process. It is mainly due to inflammation, microfractures, tendinitis, and nerve irritations that are associated with surgical dissections, which causes nociceptions due to stimulation of free nerve endings present over the extra-articular and intra-articular pain generators. The fast pain conducted by A delta fiber is mainly due to thermal and mechanical causes, whereas slow pain conducted by C fibers are chemically mediated. The neuropathic pain also an important component of post-surgical pain, which requires separate group of drugs. So the pain generation process is a continuous process due to non-adaptive nature of the pain receptors. So for multifactorial origin of the post-surgical pain, multimodal analgesia remains the best choice. It includes various pharmacological and non-pharmacological modalities that act synergistically on various levels of the pain pathway. The regional analgesia plays an essential role as an adjunct to the multimodal analgesia by reducing opioid consumptions, providing adequate analgesia, and aiding faster postoperative recovery and discharge. Preemptive analgesia is also an important component of multimodal analgesia that plays a major role in perioperative pain management by inhibiting central and peripheral sensitization. The complex innervation of the knee joint is divided into two components, anterior knee innervation and posterior knee innervation. The anterior knee is supplied by the lumbar plexus, whereas the posterior knee is supplied by the sacral plexus through various cutaneous branches supplying skin, muscular branches supplying muscles, and articular or genicular branches supplying knee joint or joint capsule. Many of us believe that saphenous nerve is only a cutaneous nerve, but if you see it here, the saphenous nerve is having major osteotomal contribution over the distal femur and proximal tibia. So during its deeper course, it also gives a muscular branch to the sartorius. The anterior and posterior capsule of the knee joint is also richly innervated by various genicular branches of the surrounding nerves. Before supplying the knee joint, these nerves form three different plexuses: subsartorial plexus, peripatellar plexus, and popliteal plexus. The subsartorial plexus lies over the medial side of the knee under the sartorius and supplies skin over the medial aspect of the knee, medial retinaculum, medial collateral ligaments, and anterior joint capsule. The peripatellar plexus lies around the patella and supplies skin around the patella along with the retinaculum and collateral ligaments and anterior joint capsule. The popliteal plexus lies over the posterior aspect of the knee joint, which supplies the posterior joint capsule along with all intra-articular structures and retinaculum and collateral ligaments. You can see here main trunk of a sciatic nerve, tibial nerve, and common peroneal nerve. They send multiple articular branches which forms the popliteal plexus, supplying all the intra-articular region along with the posterior capsule. The understanding of the dual subsidiary block depends on the anatomy of two prominent landmarks in the thigh, femoral triangle and adductor canal. The femoral triangle is nothing but the subfacial space below the inguinal ligament that lies in the upper third of the thigh. You can see in the figure, you can see the two intersection points of the two borders of the femoral triangle. The point A, which is the intersection between the medial border of the sartorius and lateral border of adductor longus, it is called as apex of the iliopectineal fossa, which is nothing but the proximal subset of the femoral triangle, whereas the point B, it is intersection point between the medial border of the sartorius and medial border of adductor longus. It is nothing but the apex of the femoral triangle, which separates femoral triangle above from the adductor canal below. The adductor canal is about 15 cm long musculoponeurotic tunnel in the middle third of the thigh, which extends from the apex of the femoral triangle above to the adductor hiatus below. It is triangular in cross section, bounded anterolaterally by vastus medialis muscle, posteromedially by adductor longus muscle proximally and adductor magnus muscle distally. Medially, it is bounded by a vasoadductor membrane, which is a strong fibrous membrane joining anterior and posterior wall. The subsartorial plexus lies in this region, sandwiched between sartorius and vasoadductor membrane. The adductor canal consists of three foraminas: superior, inferior, and anterior. The femoral vessels and saphenous nerve enters the adductor canal through the superior foramina, whereas femoral vessels alone leaves the adductor canal through the inferior foramina to become popliteal vessels. The saphenous nerve and the descending genicular vessels exit adductor canal through the anterior foramina by piercing vasoadductor membrane. It is important to note that the nerve to vastus medialis lies outside the adductor canal above the VIM in a separate facial sleeve. The vasoadductor membrane is nothing but the thickened fibrous connective tissue forming the roof of adductor canal, which connects the vastus medialis muscle to the adductor muscle, so it is named as vasoadductor membrane. Previously, the adductor canal block was performed by keeping the probe in the mid-thigh location and seeing the femoral artery exactly in the midpoint of the sartorius muscle and injecting the local anesthetic around the saphenous nerve. Later in 2017, Wong et al. Tried to define the exact location of adductor canal using an ultrasound and by locating the apex of the femoral triangle as the beginning of adductor canal. They found that the mid-thigh location, as a red arrow, always lies proximal to the apex of the femoral triangle, blue arrow. So the mid-thigh adductor canal block is nothing but the femoral triangle blocks. In the same year, another cadaveric dye study found that 10 ml of dye injected into the adductor canal below the VAM tracks along the femoral vessels and enters into the popliteal region, staining the popliteal plexus. They also found that dye injected into the femoral triangle remains under the sartorius and never reached the popliteal region. This figure shows sonanatomy at various levels of the thigh. The whole thigh sonanatomy is divided into two parts, femoral triangle and adductor canal, by the demarcation point, which is nothing but the apex of the femoral triangle. The apex of the femoral triangle can be identified where the medial borders of sartorius and adductor longus muscles overlies, forming a sign of 3 or kissing sign as shown in figure C. So region above the apex is femoral triangle and below the apex is the adductor canal. The saphenous nerve is nothing but the continuation of the posterior division of the femoral nerve that crosses the thigh from anterior to the medial aspect and travels from the deeper to the superficial plane. The presence of vasoadductor membrane is a peculiarity of the adductor canal region. The nerve to vastus medialis lies above the vasoadductor membrane in the adductor canal region. Here A represents the proximal femoral triangle or the area at the level of inguinal crease, B represents the distal femoral triangle, and C represents the apex of the femoral triangle showing the kissing sign. Due to varied neurovascular relationship, we divided adductor canal into three parts. Proximal adductor canal, which is just distal to the apex of the femoral triangle, mid adductor canal, where the descending genicular artery and the saphenous nerve comes out, and adductor longus muscle replaced by the adductor magnus muscle, and the distal adductor canal, where the femoral vessels dips into the adductor hiatus to become popliteal vessels. It is important to note that no nerves lies in the mid and distal adductor canal. One can see the saphenous nerve between the sartorius and gracilis muscle in the subcutaneous plane in the distal part of the adductor canal. You can see the bilayering of the lower border of the sartorius muscle due to presence of the vasoadductor membrane in the adductor canal region. In dual subsartorial block, two injections are given at two different locations under the sartorius. That's why it is called as dual subsartorial block. It is given immediately after the surgery by placing the high frequency probe horizontally over the anteromedial aspect of the thigh. The first step is to identify the apex of the femoral triangle by seeing a sign of 3 where medial borders of sartorius and adductor longus muscle overlies. Now the probe is moved 1 to 2 centimeter proximal to the apex into the distal femoral triangle area, where you can see the hyperechoic saphenous nerve just lateral to the femoral artery and another hyperechoic nerve to vastus medalis lateral to the saphenous nerve in the intermuscular plane between the sartorius and vastus medalis muscle. Around 10 to 20 cc of the drug is injected, separating the plane between the two muscles and targeting saphenous nerve and nerve to vastus medalis directly. After first injection, the probe is again moved toward the apex of the femoral triangle. Now it is moved 1 to 2 cm distal to the apex of the femoral triangle to enter into the proximal adductor canal area, where you can see typical bilayering of the lower border of the sartorius. Around 10 to 20 cc of the drug can be injected just next to the femoral artery under the vasoadductor membrane. We can see some drug deposition over the vasoadductor membrane due to the distal spread of the first injection. Though the effect of this injection will be the same in all levels of adductor canal, we recommend giving this block mainly in proximal adductor canal to avoid proximity to the sterile surgical field. So the first injection of DSB, which is distal femoral triangle, will block the saphenous nerve and nerve to vastus medalis directly, subsartorial plexus indirectly with the distal spread, and medial half of the peripatellar plexus with the spread in the femoral triangle. Thus, it will cover all the procedure-specific innervation of the pain-generating structures of the anterior knee. The second injection of the dual subsartorial block, which is nothing but the proximal adductor canal block, will block the saphenous nerve directly and the popliteal plexus indirectly through the drug spread in the popliteal fossa. Thus, it covers all the procedure-specific innervation of the intra-articular and posterior knee. Among various regional analgesia options for TKR surgery, the trend is to go away from the center towards the periphery to avoid motor blockade. These options include neuraxial block, lumbosacral blockade, femoral obturator and sciatic nerve block, femoral triangle block, adductor canal block, dual subsartorial block, selective tibial nerve block, local infiltration analgesia, IPAC, and 4-in-1 block. In this figure, the blocks from the green circle onwards are considered as a motor sparing block which are suitable for the ERAS protocol. For anterior knee pain, femoral nerve block gives an excellent pain relief, but due to associated motor weakness leading to risk of fall, alternatives can be considered. Similarly, for posterior knee pain, motor sparing alternatives can be given priority due to risk of fall and muscle weakness associated with sciatic nerve block and obturator nerve block. Based on the drug spread concept in the adductor canal region, we have designed another motor sparing block known as HIPAC block, high volume proximal adductor canal block, in which we inject 30 to 40 ml of 0.1 ropivacaine with the dexamethasone in the proximal adductor canal, targeting saphenous nerve and depositing all the drug around the saphenous nerve below the vasoadductor membrane next to the femoral artery. This block is described as an indirect anterior approach of the popliteal sciatic nerve block. We give this block for all below knee surgeries after patient starts moving toes. Due to low concentration of the local anesthetic used, this block can be given without fear of masking of pain of compartment syndrome. Similarly, such high volume blocks were described by Roy as 4-in-1 and modified 4-in-1, where they used descending genicular artery as an identification point to identify the distal adductor canal. IPAC is nothing but the infiltration between the popliteal artery and the capsule of the knee joint. It creates a field block in the region between the popliteal artery and the knee joint where the articular branches cross. It mainly targets the popliteal plexus, thus works mainly for the posterior knee pain. It can be given by keeping the probe anteromedially to the thigh or posteriorly in the popliteal region. So, the ideal regional analgesia strategy should provide procedure-specific analgesia. For that, you need to know all the approaches of TKR surgeries and their innervations. The innervations of the structure causing anterior or extraarticular pain can be blocked by subsartorial blocks, whereas the intraarticular pain can be blocked by posterior component block. So, to provide complete and effective procedure-specific analgesia, both the components, anterior and posterior, need to be blocked. This is a schematic representation of the knee and pain generating structures before and after the surgery. The components causing knee pain before and after surgery are different. Before surgery, the knee pain is mainly due to the inflammatory process arising from the pathology inside the knee joint, which is mainly osteoarthritic changes in the intra-articular structure. So, intra-articular pain generation predominates. But after the surgery, all the intra-articular pain generating structures, including richly innervated anterior capsule, are removed and replaced with the non-vascular and non-neural implants. Now, due to the inflammatory changes associated with the surgical dissection into anteromedial aspect of the knee, the anterior pain components predominates postoperatively than the posterior and intra-articular components. The dual subsartorial blocks provides analgesia over all postoperative pain generating areas in the knee joint by causing complete coverage of procedure specific pain generating innervations. This figure shows analgesic coverage of various other blocks available for total knee replacement surgery. As shown in the figure, the femoral triangle covers the anterior knee pain but not the intra-articular pain. The adductor canal block covers the partial medial knee pain due to blockade of the saphenous nerve and intra-articular pain due to blockade of the popliteal plexus. By blocking only popliteal plexus innervation, the IPAC mainly provides intra-articular analgesia. The local infiltration analgesia pain coverage depends on surgeon's technique of infiltration, agent used, and sites of infiltrations. The problem with the LIA is the duration of analgesia, which is not more than 12 to 14 hours. LIA patient usually has severe breakthrough pain. Other problems are infections and chondrotoxicity due to various agents used, which may lead to joint loosening in the long-term follow-up and chances of redo surgeries. The 4-in-1 block mainly covers the intra-articular pain and is associated with blockade of sciatic nerve, which is not required. And there is always chance of sparing of saphenous nerve and nerve to vastus medialis due to varied anatomy in the distal adductor canal region. In our study on DSB, we found the consistent location of nerve to vastus medialis in the intermuscular plane between sartorius and vastus medialis muscle. The mean pain score remained between 0 to 3.5 range till the discharge of the patient, whereas the mean quadriceps strength remained between the 4 to 5 grades. The initial decrease in the quadriceps strength in first 6 hours in some patients was due to the residual effect of the spinal anesthesia. As per our volume comparison study, we found better analgesia with 10-20 and 20-10 volumes in femoral triangle and adductor canal block than 10-10 volumes. The rescue analgesia of our study was determined on the basis of the location of the pain and type of the pain. Based on our clinical experience of more than 2000 TKR cases from 2017, the statistical analysis of our study and anatomical correlations, we believe that dual subsartorial block provide an effective analgesia by covering both anterior and posterior knee pain. Thus, the DSB is a motor sparing, procedure specific, opioid sparing, a novel regional analgesia technique that is completely suitable for ERAS protocol compared to other available techniques. To conclude, the ideal pain management strategies for the post-surgical TCAR pain should be local, regional, procedure specific, motor sparing, opioid sparing, multimodal analgesia for multifactorial pain. This is a scanning video of the inguinal crease. Then tracing the femoral artery distally, we can see the appearance of the sartorius above the femoral artery and adductor longus muscle on the medial side. They form a sign of 3 or kissing sign, which is nothing but the apex of the femoral triangle. Then 1 to 2 centimeter proximally in the distal femoral triangle, you can see the 2 hyperechoic dots which are lying in the intermuscular plane between the sartorius and vastus medialis muscle. Again in the distal femoral triangle. Then up from the apex going into the proximal adductor canal. Then coming towards the mid adductor canal, you can see the emerging of the descending genicular artery from the femoral artery, and then in the distal part the femoral artery dips into the adductor hiatus to become popliteal artery. This is a block video. Apex of the femoral triangle, again proximally. Then in the distal femoral triangle area, you can see 2 hyperechoic dot. Needle is going towards the nerve to vastus medialis. Deposition of the drug around the nerve to vastus medialis in the intermuscular plane between sartorius and vastus medialis muscle. Now towards the saphenous nerve. This is distal femoral triangle block. Around 10 to 20 cc of the drug is required, separating the intermuscular plane. Then again apex of the femoral triangle going distally in the proximal adductor canal. You can see the bilayering of the sartorius. This is proximal adductor canal injection. You can see the needle just next to the femoral artery. Again in the intermuscular plane between the sartorius and vastus medialis muscle. Injection of the drug just next to the saphenous nerve. You can see the floating of the saphenous nerve. Now needle is moving more closer towards the femoral artery. This injection is under the vasoadductor membrane. You can see the typical compression of the femoral vessel, and disappearing spread of the local anesthetic can also be seen. So this is proximal adductor canal block where 10 to 20 cc of the drug is required. It mainly blocks the popliteal plexus indirectly. So this is post injection scanning. Apex, then proximally you can see the distal femoral triangle. You can see hyperechoic dots surrounded by hyperechoic drug in the distal femoral triangle. These are. Thank you so much.